What's up, guys? Welcome to the Meet Captain Keith YouTube channel. I'm actually here at the car wash today. There's a big line ahead of me, so I thought I'll make a quick video and talk about how to pass a type rating. Now, these tips on how to pass a type rating apply to just about any other type rating. I mean, I'm qualified on the Boeing 767, 757, the CRJ, and the Metroliner aircraft. I haven't flown an Airbus, but I assume it's pretty much the same techniques when it comes to passing a type rating. So here it is. The first tip I'd recommend is to practice your cockpit flows. Now, what the flows are, guys, is specific procedures you use for before you start an airplane, before you push back, before you take off, through 10,000 feet, when you're descending below 18,000 feet, after landing, and shut down. There's specific action items you have to do from memory, and most of the times you have to follow it up by a checklist. So because it's from memory, guys, your company will actually require you to not reference a checklist. The checklist is just meant to just use as a backup. So how do you actually learn and practice by flows? Well, a lot of companies, when you first join, they give you a cockpit photo of the airplane. It's basically a huge paper mock of the cockpit of the airplane, which shows every single button. So what I would do is I would take that mock cockpit photo and post it on a Bristol board, a sturdy Bristol board, and I would go through all the procedures. So for example, if it said fuel pumps on, I will look up there with the muscle memory and press the fuel pump button. If it says hydraulics on, if the hydraulics were over here, I would look up and press the hydraulics. If it said transponder on, transponder may be down here, so I would look down here with my hand and develop the muscle memory, and that way I would learn my flows. Because it's one thing to memorize the flows, and it's another thing to actually develop the muscle memory and move your hand in the direction of where the button is, so that when you do move into the simulator for your training, it'll be a lot easier, trust me. So that's number one. The number two tip that I would give you to pass a type rating would be to memorize your emergencies. Now, this might seem obvious, guys, memorize your emergencies, but if you look at the quick reference handbook, which is the book that contains all the emergencies, you'll notice there's at least 1,000 emergencies in there. So it's probably gonna take you a long time, probably years, to get through all the emergencies if you were to practice them. So, but only for a type rating, there's really a handful of emergencies you actually have to know cold. I would say less than 10. For example, the emergencies you need to know cold are the engine fire drill, engine failure drill, engine failure after V1, the rejection takeoff, evacuation checklist, rapid depressurization, and so on and so forth. So when you do memorize those emergency procedures, I would again use the cockpit poster as a reference and develop the muscle memory. Because in emergency, guys, you know, things are happening, you know, there may be loud sounds or smoke in the cockpit. You want to be able to do things accurately. You know, it's very easy to make a mistake. So in order to ensure you do things accurately, you need to keep practicing and practicing. The third tip I would give in order to pass their type rating would be to memorize the limitations section. Now, what the limitation section is things you should not do in an airplane. For example, there's a certain max speed at which your specific airplane can fly. There's a certain max temperature which your engine can take. There's a certain max speed that your flaps can handle or the landing gear can handle. Or when you're starting the engine, there's a certain amount of max time that your starter can run. You need to know what these limitations are, because when you go for a type rating test, they will not necessarily quiz you on the limitations, but indirectly when you're flying the airplane, I mean, if you bust, you know, something that the manufacturer said you cannot do, then it's an automatic fail, guys. So you must know your limitation. And the third tip I'd give you in order to help you pass the type rating is to memorize your patterns. And what the patterns are, guys, is a pictorial format your company will provide you that shows you a handful of procedures of what to do at specific situations during the flight. For example, one could be a pattern for a precision approach, flying the ILS. So they might say, okay, when you are 1 dot below the glide slope, put this amount of flaps down. When you are intercepted the glide slope, do another notch of flaps down. When you're flying a non-precision approach, could be another pattern. They might say when you're 2 miles from the descending point, they want you to be configured with the gear and flaps at a certain point. So even actually another example would be when you're flying a VFR traffic pattern. They might say on the downwind, they want you to be configured with your gear and flaps. When you turn base, they want you to maybe have landing flaps. And then on final, they just want you to either put your final landing flaps or already be configured, and then just be stable by 500 feet. So knowing your patterns is important. So in quick summary, guys, the number one thing would be to know your flows in front of a cockpit photo or in the real simulator would be great. Number two would be to know your emergencies, cold, specific emergencies that I mentioned. It's usually less than 10. Number three would be to know your limitations. And number four would be to know your patterns, specifically how to fly at certain points at phases during the flight. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, found it informative. Like I said, I'm in the lineup. It's a big lineup to get my car washed today in the winter time. So I thought it may be productive and make a quick video for you guys. Well, hope you guys have a great day. Take care.